You would think that after the last game that the Flyers played against the Columbus Blue Jackets, in a game in which they made some very questionable decisions with the puck, some questionable decisions with decisions, and some bad decisions overall, that the best course of action would not to be to give the team off on Friday. But that's what John Tortorella did. He gave the Flyers off on Friday from practice. I guess an opportunity to clear their head. And what the result of that was anything but inspiring today down in South Philly as the Flyers fell 4-1 to the Ottawa Senators in Claude Giroux's return to Philadelphia. And in a game that if you watched it and did not know the score or watched half of it, left and came back and saw the final, you'd be like, what the hell happened? Because the Flyers in that first period into the middle part of the second period were pretty much the dominant team. They were taking the play to the Ottawa Senators. They outshot the Ottawa Senators in this game. But this game is kind of summed up in my aspect or in my humble opinion by once again less than stellar goaltending from Carter Hart, bad penalties, and defensive lapses that created less than stellar goaltending from Carter Hart, and all in the tune of a 4-1 defeat. A frustrating game in Philadelphia. And oh, by the way, welcome back to Clear the Ice with your boy Matty B here on EOP, the premier in Philadelphia Flyer post-game entertainment. And it's great to be back with you on this Saturday afternoon as we are treated to some matinee hockey down in South Philly. And what we saw was anything but a treat, more like a trick to kind of play on the past Halloween holiday that just passed, and scary as well. So maybe they played this game about a week or so too late. But yeah, it just kind of falls in the line what we're going to see all season long from this hockey club as they played a better fundamental game, a better game, and took the play to the Ottawa Senators. And Cam Talbot, man, how do you know how to play goalie? Was really just the better of the two goalies today as the Flyers fell 4-1 again. I'm going to echo that 4-1 to the Ottawa Senators in Philadelphia to now knock their record down to 7-5-2 in this young season. And where do we go and how do we start? Let's start with this. Let's talk about the scoring summary here, how it all happened at South Philly. Kevin Hayes got the Flyers on the board first at the 6:05 mark of the first period, his third of the year from Travis Konecny and Joel Farabee. And then that lead would hold up all of about 6.5 minutes as Thomas Chabot would get things going for the Ottawa Senators. His third goal of the year, assisted by Claude Giroux and Brady Tkachuk, tying things up at 1. That is how we ended into the the first period intermission. And in the second, as I mentioned, those bad penalties. Well, one of them came back to bite us. Alex DeBrincat, who should be a Flyer. Thank you, Ron Hextall. His third of the season, a power play goal from Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stutzel to make it 2-1. And then that's how things would end in the second period. And then here we go, third period at the 6:52 mark. Alex DeBrincat, his fourth of the year, power play goal. Again, those bad penalties from Derek Brassard and Claude Giroux. And then Tim Stutzel would add a empty netter at the 16:06 mark of the third period, capping the scoring for the Ottawa Senators. And on the day, 4-1 loss today to the Senators. Yeah. And Alex DeBrincat had himself a day, and so did our former captain as he came back and stuck it to the team for 2 assists. As a matter of fact, earned himself third star honors in this game. Alex DeBrincat, should be a Flyer, got the first star nod at 2 goals. Cam Talbot, the goaltender who stood on his damn head. I've never seen Cam Talbot. Certainly didn't see him play like this when he was a Flyer, and really haven't really seen Cam Talbot ever play like this. 37 saves, and Claude Giroux in his return to Philadelphia. 2 assists, gets the third star nods for the afternoon. Some of the stats that are important as we track throughout the season. Again, the Flyers outshot the Ottawa Senators today, 38-27, improving their shots for and shots against. They're now 398 shots for and 485 against, getting a little bit better and for the third straight game, out shooting their opponent. On the special teams aspect of things, the Flyers were 0 for 3 on the power play today. 0 for 3, dropping their season totals now down to 8 for 44, and that's starting to kind of plummet to earth. It's now down to an 18% efficiency rate as the Flyers struggled to generate anything on their power play. And then, of course, struggled to keep the puck out of their net on their shorthanded attempts as well, giving up 2 power play goals today to the Ottawa Senators. And that was really the story of the game. The story of the game today is, to me, if you want to sum it down even further, power play or bad penalties. And yeah, I want to say Carter Hart, man. I'm sorry. I'm just not really on board with him right now. I just think he is just okay. And today he gave up another sus goal. That one that he was hugging the post and it went upstairs. A couple of the goals he was let out to dry, and I understand that. But I'm sorry, I'm just not digging it. When you give up only 27 shots, but yet you give up 3 goals, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work out for me. And Carter Hart continues his, in my opinion, okay play in 2022 and 23, and then tuned to a 4-1 loss today. Flyers will get things right back at it tomorrow. Another matinee down in South Philly. This time they'll welcome in the Dallas Stars for their only appearance in Philadelphia this season. A 1:00 puck drop down there in South Philadelphia. Please go on down and support your team. We need it as things are starting to kind of turn a little bit, I guess you would say. Steven chimes in with, this team got Flyer Hall of Fame play from 28, but we haven't been the same since Yager and Prongs exited the picture of this team's leadership group. So let's kind of I want to attack that. I want to answer that correctly, and I want to do it with the do it correctly. I don't think they got Hall of Fame play from Claude Giroux. I don't. Maybe I'm a little tainted by the fact that he was probably one of the worst captains we ever had in the history of this organization. He's probably one of the reasons why we don't have a captain right now, because of the culture issues and the accountability issues that existed inside that clubhouse. So let's kind of break this thing into 2 pieces. His captain legacy, which to me is garbage of the hot variety, and his play performance. Right? Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Claude Giroux is not one of the better players that have ever worn orange or black. I'm not. He was. And then the legacy around Claude Giroux, of course, is the fact that we never found him that other half of that super duo. We never found him that complement player. We never found him his Draisaitl to his McDavid. We never got that for him. And there's a lot of truth to that. But to say he's a Hall of Fame or he played as a Hall of Famer, I'm not buying it, man. And maybe I'm just looking too deep into this captain thing. I just don't see that. As far as Yager and Prongs exited the picture of this team leadership group, it goes a little bit deeper than that. The game changed. Let's kind of look at that as the first overarching leadership problem this team has had. The game has changed over the last 20 years significantly, and the leadership style of a Chris Pronger and a Jaromir Jagr probably wouldn't work too much this day and age either. So I don't, it was a different game played by different types of players back then, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So to sit here and say that, that I don't know. I don't agree with that. But obviously, when you look at the follow up to Chris Pronger, which would have been after Mike Richards would have been Claude Giroux. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. Leadership in this team has changed, and I guess it started with Giroux and the way he was the captain for this team. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'll give you that. I'll give you that, Steve. I will. While it's unfair to say player X is not a good leader, who's player X? Do we have him? Anyway, it is absolutely fair to say the above. Leadership group failed. Ellis most likely addresses a good amount of that void. I don't really know what you meant by that. And Ryan Ellis's presence being brought here for a leadership role, absolutely. I mean, that was probably part of the trade too. Bringing in a veteran guy who can be a leader, and obviously that hasn't worked out. Not a damn. He's only played 4 games, and obviously that's a huge misstep there by the Flyer management on Ryan Ellis. I agree. A lot of Homer's plan depended on Pronger, and a lot of Fletch's plan depended on Ellis. Torts was audible. While our mediocre GM situation of the last 13 years continues to erode us from within. Yeah, Stephen, I kind of agree with you. I mentioned this on the way back when we started this post game thing, and I kind of went over the history of this team. We're really frustrated as a fan base right now, based on the play of our GM or lack thereof. But if you look back in time, you name me a GM that really has done a great job. They really haven't. They've made some really bad decisions. I mean, Bobby Clark prior to 1995 was probably the best GM we ever had. But after 1995, he didn't know what he was doing. The game changed. He couldn't change with it. Gave it over to Paul Holmgren, who was still kind of using that old school type stuff, handing out bad contracts to older players, praying to God it would work out. That didn't work out. And then, you bring in Ron Hextall, and the Ron Hextall legacy, of course, is the drafting and the bad drafting that he did with a lot of friggin' assets. And we had a lot of assets that were misused and misdrafted. So to sit here and blame Chuck Fletcher, and he definitely owns some of this, of some of his decisions, but to sit here and just solely blame him, that's not true. But I agree. You got to look deeper with this team and its failures. You got to look deeper. And yes, that includes you too, Hextall. Yeah, I agree. All right, Steven's rant is over. Steven, thank you as always for chiming in and being part of what we do here. I definitely appreciate that. So yeah, Dave, hey Matty B, tough loss for the Fly Guys. Very tough loss, Dave, and a loss that's as I mentioned on this show, and I will continue to mention on the show over and over and over again, is a loss that's going to be almost a nightly thing. These types of games, the way they're playing and the way they play, are going to be what you're going to be seeing on a daily basis. And you can kind of look at different ends of the spectrum. You could say, well, at least it's going to keep me interested. It's going to keep me entertained. And then you can look on the other side and say, you know what? It's frustrating. We could have been better if Johnny Hockey was here. We could be better if Ryan Ellis didn't get hurt 4 games into his career as a Flyer. We could be better if we drafted Alex DeBrincat. We could be better if we, Sean Couturier wasn't hurt. Cam Atkinson wasn't hurt. What's going on with the medical staff? I mean, we can go back and forth from each side of the spectrum on this, but this is it. This is what the Flyers are this season. And, I hope that we've accepted that. I hope as a fan base, we understand that, and that some nights they're going to have enough to get over the hump and other nights they're not. And I go back to my opening. I go back to the, let's give everybody a day off of practice after one of the worst games of the season that they played against the Blue Jackets, who stink. And they played a really bad game against them. But yet Tortorella felt it was the best thing to do was to give the team off. I don't, what happened to the hard as nails John Tortorella? What happened to the accountability John Tortorella? So I guess it works when they come out and if they would have played better today. I guess it works if they would have come out and not committed so many damn dumb penalties. I guess it works if they would have come out and Carter Hart would have played half-assed decently. But, when it doesn't, and it doesn't for the reasons that I just cited that it would have, what do we think of the head coach here? Giving the guys a day off. Now, obviously, maybe the back-to-back had something to do with it. And, of course, the Flyers, who have not fared well at all in back-to-back, are now going to have to face another one tomorrow in Philly at 1 o'clock against a team that they very rarely ever see, only twice a year, the Dallas Stars, who are a very good hockey club. And now we're probably going to have to go with what's his face? Samuelson is our netminder, because I guarantee you Hart's not starting tomorrow. Where do we go here? What do we do? Do we got to? I mean, what do you guys think tomorrow is going to be like? So frustrating, tough, are all the adjectives that I would definitely use to describe the Philadelphia Flyers, but competitive and fun and interesting. And also, I'd use those words too. So 4-1 loss today against the Ottawa Senators. Second in a row now. Yep, second loss in a row. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, second loss in a row. As the Flyers continue to, maybe come down off of that early season high as they are leveling out to more of what this team will probably be this season, right around 500, maybe slightly below, until the bottom completely falls out and we plummet to the bottom of the East. But right now, 7-5-2. And with that being said, it's the time in the program where we shift our attention to Connor Bednar. That's right. I am not giving up that dream. I know there's many teams ahead of us and many teams probably with a better shot at this guy, but I'm not giving up my dream, because I'm telling you, I have a dream. Everyone has a dream. Everyone should have a dream. And my dream is Connor Bednar wearing orange and black next season. And let's check in on the young man who is the center for the Regina Pats of the Western Hockey League now through 18 games. Connor has netted 16 goals, 23 assists for 39 points, 28 penalty minutes, and that gaudy +10, plus or minus. Yep, definitely proving every day more and more that he will be that consensus #1 pick next season, and hopefully, or in the draft next summer, and hopefully he falls into the laps of the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't know if it's going to happen. We've had the #1 overall draft pick one time in our history of a franchise. But again, a man can dream, and I can dream big. So 4-1 today against the Ottawa Senators. Not a very good, not a good loss. They played better. They played better than what the score indicated, but they ran into a hot goalie in Cam Talbot. Gee, I guarantee no one's ever said that before. And then they committed way too many dumb penalties and let this thing get away from them. And that's what young teams do. That's what young teams that lack any kind of substantial talent or veteran leadership. This is what's going to happen to them. They're going to let things slip from them. They're going to get into a funk and they're going to spiral out of control. And that's what happened today against the Ottawa Senators in a very winnable game down there in South Philadelphia in the return of Claude Giroux. And you know what? A final epitaph on Claude Giroux. It was really classy that the Flyers honored him, and they should. You know what? I'm not a Claude Giroux guy, never was, but I don't not recognize what he did for this organization while he was here. One of the best players that we ever had. Unfortunately, the legacy is we never got him what he needed, and it ended up the way it did. But for him to come back and get that rightful tribute that they gave him down there was awesome. And I wish him all the best of luck as he wraps up his season. Don't know if he's going to get a cup playing for the Ottawa Senators, but you know what? It's his hometown team. Everybody should play for their hometown team, just like I do here on the Edge of Philly Sports. And with that being said, let's pay some bills, shall we? Don't forget my hometown team. If you guys run into any trouble, right? Any trouble at all out there with workman's comp questions, motor vehicle accident questions, or personal injury, or criminal law, contact Dave Cherry at 610-565-0300. Let him know Matty B, Clear the Ice, and the EOP network sent you, and he shall take great care of you. And don't forget the Philly Sports Trips people, the second hardest working people in show business, by the way. I'm the first. But anyway, no, they did a fantastic job. They do a fantastic job over there at Philly Sports Trips. Go ahead and check them out. The next trip is coming up here in a couple weeks. Heading out to Indy. I'm not really sure of the status of that. I don't know if it's been sold out, but go ahead and check it out. And don't forget their home tailgates every game or every day or every home game at the Gatehouse, a.k.a. the Navy Yard. So go ahead and check all that out on their website. They got Philly stuff up for next year. They got Flyer stuff going on, Sixer stuff going on, everything you can want. And don't forget, here's the lineup. You've made it to the weekend. Patterson Fanatics was on earlier. You got me clearing the ice against the Senators, and then the Sixers and Hawks post game tonight a little bit later. And then tomorrow, Devro Sports, me again, clearing the ice against the Stars, and then all across all the time, and then some Sixers Jazz post game. So anything you need to find, I dare you to not look here, because you'll find it if you do. You need to check it out. You need to tell your friends. You need to smash that bell, like and subscribe, all them things that the kiddies say today, and come along for the ride here on EOP. And if you need to get a ride down to Delco and visit the only bar in Delco, you need to go to Dolan's, definitely. And don't forget, get a ride. You know, you don't need a DUI. So, and if you get a DUI, give Dave a call. See how that all ties in, man? God, I'm good. Folks, that's going to wrap me up. Rapid fire. Clear the ice. Flyers fall 4-1 to the Ottawa Senators in a game which they should have had, in a game which they played like these 3/4 of it like they should have won. But when you commit dumb penalties and you get little sus defense and kind of sus goaltending, it's what's going to happen to you. So Flyers fall today to the Ottawa Senators 4-1. Don't forget to join me tomorrow. Post game Flyers Stars. Another 1:00 start, another matinee affair down there in South Philadelphia. So look for me in the middle part of the afternoon. Hopefully I won't run up against the Eagle post game. I know I won't. I'll make sure I don't. So until we talk again, what do they say? Let's go Flyers.